There's a shirt which was selling for me once a day on average during May, and here's how many times it sold on just one day this June. And here's another example of a shirt that only sold 8 times in total during May this year, and here's how many times I managed to sell it within 24 hours just a few days ago. And the best thing is, whilst some of these orders came from ads, the majority of the sales were actually organic. These results are all thanks to an Amazon ads strategy called the Tamaz method, which has helped me skyrocket my sales over the past few weeks. And in this video, I'm going to explain the Tamaz method to you in detail so that you can utilize it to grow your sales as well. Now, usually I'm not one to flash numbers on my screen. You know that if you've been watching for a while, but I think in this case it was necessary because this is going to be quite a long video and it's all about Amazon ads, which is usually a topic that turns people off or it's quite boring, but I want you to benefit from this method. So I thought I would provide the results at the beginning to give you more of an incentive to watch until the end, because I believe this is one of the best Amazon ad strategies that we can use to create best sellers through our Amazon merch account. It's way better than anything else I've ever tried over the past few years. And the best thing is you don't need any tools for this. All you need is an Amazon merch account and an Amazon ads account, or access to Amazon ads. You do also need some patience and a bit of budget to test different ad campaigns with. I didn't get instant results either. I started testing about 4 weeks ago, but regardless, the potential with this Tamaz method is definitely massive and way better than with something like a lottery campaign, for example. But what on earth even is the Tamaz method? What does it mean and where does it stem from? Well, in my free Discord community, which is linked in the description, by the way, we have a channel where people can share their daily sales and their success stories to help motivate one another and to also show their progress with time. Now, one member in particular kept impressing us by consistently sharing over 300 sales per day and reaching up to 10,000 sales per month. Eventually, he started sharing how he creates bestsellers on Amazon with a very specific ads strategy, and we were all trying to understand and get a grasp of what he means over the past few months, and then some people started to test his strategy as well, including me, and we're seeing the results roll in collectively. And by the way, Tamaz seems like a really cool guy. He's not selling any courses or any tools or something like that, so he doesn't have any ulterior motive in this. The incentive is to help us grow our sales as well. So the way the rest of this video is going to be structured is I will first of all go over the Tamaz method in detail. I will show you how to set up an ad campaign based on his strategy. I will then share my own experience and what I've done over the past few weeks to achieve my results, because I did a few things a bit differently and I also tested some new ideas. And then at the end of the video, I will share a very important bonus tip which no one has mentioned yet in relation to this method, not even Tamaz himself. And I believe if you use this bonus tip in combination with the Tamaz method, you can put your earning potential on Amazon merch on steroids. So let's begin by talking about the approach or the goal of the Tamaz method. What we're trying to accomplish here is create just a few best-selling listings on Amazon merch that generate thousands and thousands of sales on their own every single month. This is the opposite of creating thousands and thousands of listings where a percentage of them only sells from time to time, which you can kind of call the lottery campaign approach. Not that lottery campaigns are useless, but they're very bad for creating best-selling items with high sales volume. To achieve creating these bestsellers, we must target niches with very high demand. For example, dogs, nurses, or even the funny t-shirt niche. The idea is that we target these niches with a more focused approach to ads, with only a small amount of manual ad campaigns, which only target one ASIN and one keyword at a time. So this is kind of a laser focused sniper approach to ads rather than the lottery campaign shotgun approach where you're targeting thousands of listings and thousands of search terms at once. But what about the designs that we're going to use in these ads? Well, for this strategy to use, we have to create or use designs that appeal to almost everyone within a broad high demand niche. For example, if we target the dog niche, our design needs to appeal to dog lovers in general and not be a French bulldog design, for example. Now, if you already have some listings that are selling on Amazon, which are very broad and appeal to almost everyone within a broad search term, that's a good bonus and a good starting point. But if you only have very sub-niche designs, then you might have to create some broad ones to begin with. So when it comes to the keywords that we're targeting with our manual ad campaigns, we also need to go after very broad keywords, such as dog, nurse, or funny. So depending on your design, you want to target the most broad keyword that it appeals to. What's important here is that the keywords should have high search volume, ideally 100,000 monthly searches or more. You can check search volume by using the free version of Flying Research. In the keyword search tab, you just type in a word and then it will show you the average monthly searches on both Google and Amazon. So there's a link in the description. There's no trial period. It's just a free plan that lets you check for search volume as well. Tamaz recommends keywords everywhere, but I can't really talk about that because I don't know the tool myself. I've never used it, but alternatively, check out keywords everywhere. And what's also very important here to remember is that we're targeting only one keyword at a time with only one ASIN at a time as well, until we find one ASIN or one design in a sense which has a high conversion rate on this very keyword. Which brings me to the next topic of conversion rate. The key to the Tamaz method working successfully is finding designs or products with a good conversion rate, short CVR. A good conversion rate would be 10% or higher. Now, how do you calculate conversion rate? Essentially, you're taking the amount of sales that you received from an ad campaign, you divide it by the amount of clicks that it took to get those sales, and then you multiply it by 100. For example, if you received 40 clicks for design A and it converted only 2 times, then your conversion rate would be 5%. This is 2 sales divided by 40 clicks times 100 equals 5. That is an example for a bad conversion rate. If you received 40 clicks for design B and it sold 6 times, then your conversion rate would be 15%, and this would be a good conversion rate. I will also show you some example screenshot on the screen right now taken from my ads console. We've got one example of very amazing results with a great 50% conversion rate, and then another example of a low conversion rate or bad results with 24 clicks and just 1 order right here. What's important to know right here is that once a product starts selling multiple times a day with a high conversion rate, it will begin to benefit from what's called sales velocity. What is sales velocity? Well, the higher your conversion rate and your daily sales, the more Amazon will let your product show up for more and more search terms at better positions, higher rankings. So basically, your listing or your design will keep gaining a better organic ranking, which leads to more and more sales on top of your ads. So for example, whilst a product might only sell once or twice a day organically without running any ads, if you sold it 10 times through ads per day, then it can also sell an additional 10 to 20 times organically. And this is just an example to emphasize that no ads, 1 to 2 sales per day, that same product, if you sold it 10 times with ads, it could gain a lot of additional organic sales on top as well. And this is essentially how your sales can snowball, because a high conversion rate in a high demand niche leads to a high sales velocity, which leads to good organic ranking. And the reverse is also true. So essentially, if a product has low sales velocity, if it only sells every now and then, it will show up for less and less search terms, meaning it gets worse rankings and it will kind of lose its momentum and stop getting sales. Another benefit right here is that a product with high sales velocity will get a reduced cost per click, or CPC, in your ad campaigns. For example, product A sells really well compared to product B, but product A has a lower bid compared to product B. In this case, product A will often win the ad auction anyway, even with a lower bid, because Amazon assumes that product A is more likely to convert than product B. Let's talk about pricing for your shirt. So To make this high conversion rate and high sales velocity achievable, we need to price lower than the typical, $19.99 t-shirt prices, especially at the beginning of our campaigns when we're still testing for the conversion rate. Ideally, start off with $13.99 or $14.99 for a standard US t-shirt. Once the snowball effect hits and you get sales velocity, you can still increase the price gradually up to a maximum of $17.99, I would say, and try and find that sweet spot where your conversion rate is still really high, above 10%, and your earnings are also the highest possible. It might sound counterintuitive to price things really low, but wouldn't you rather sell 30 t-shirts per day for $60 profit than selling just 4 t-shirts per day for a $20 profit? So yeah, you made more royalties per sale, but in the other case, your overall profit is higher. The low pricing will also enable us to test our products more quickly and not have to spend as much in the actual testing phase, but more on that in a little bit. So let's talk about testing a new product or design, and I will start with showing you how to set up the initial campaign. So go to your ads console, choose sponsored product ads. You can call the ad group keywords right here, and then you want to enter your desired ASIN to test. Click add. For the targeting, you want to choose manual targeting right here, then scroll down to enter list and type in your primary broad keyword that you want to advertise on. So I'm going to use dog as this example. I typically start off with broad, phrase, and exact match enable. Tamaz recommends starting off with broad and phrase match. I personally have had really good results with exact match as well, so you can test all three if you want. Then click add keywords and select a low bid right here to start off with, such as 20 cents. For example, you can use up to 30 cents as you're starting out, depending on how quickly you want to get some data. Then scroll down to the campaign bidding strategy and make sure to select fixed bids. I will explain why later. And then you just want to give this a relevant campaign name. You could do dog Tamaz, for example, and then give it a daily budget of say $5. Again, this depends. If you have a lot of budget, you can set it higher to test more quickly. If you don't have a lot of budget, then just set it quite low. And then you're pretty much ready to launch this campaign and start testing your first ASIN. Tamaz also has some practical advice on how to actually test these products and what to watch out for in the next few days or weeks whilst your new campaign is running. So we can spend up to 10x our royalties to see if we can get a sale. Meaning, if you have a standard t-shirt in the US that's priced at $14.99, you have a $1.19 royalty. $1.19 times 10 or 10x is $11.90. Meaning, we have an $11.90 budget to start to test the product. So what if you've spent 10x your royalties and there's no sale? Well, in that case, you want to pause the design and move on to testing the next one. If you spent 10x your royalties and you received one sale, then leave it for another 10x spend. And if there's no additional sales, pause it again. If you spent 10x or even 20x and your conversion rate is over 10%, then increase the bids by 5% every few days and keep monitoring performance. You might have found a winner. It's important to note here that we don't marry our designs, meaning we just want to see what performs really well, and that's in terms of conversion rate. And that means you need to be prepared to abandon a design that you spent a very long time to create and move on to the next one. Mindset is important. We're trying to find a design that converts well. We're not trying to sell the design that we love the most or that we spend the most time creating. The reason we price our t-shirts so low right here in the testing phase is, first of all, that means we can get our 10x spend more quickly, and we can also test the product for a smaller budget. If you're pricing at $19.99, then a 10x spend would be $50 for the testing phase. Additionally, a product that is priced low will convert better. Also note that we choose one broad keyword because we want to show up for every search term related to that broad keyword. This also helps us be more focused with our optimizations, our data, and our bid changes, because if you were using 30 keywords at once and then trying to change the bids for all of those keywords, it would be very difficult to maintain focus. So one thing I haven't touched on yet are fixed bids. You saw me select them while setting up the ad, and this is essentially another unique aspect or important aspect of the Tamaz method, because fixed bids, first of all, give us more control and clarity with our data and our bidding decisions. However, it also ensures that we get a higher conversion rate, and high conversion rate is key. Why is this the case? Well, the higher you bid, the more likely your product will receive good placement. The lower you bid, the more likely your product will receive bad placement, and a better placement means you're more likely going to convert. Good placement or better placement means you will show up higher in the search, you will show up in more relevant spaces where you're more likely to generate sales. Low placement means you will show up very low in the search in very low value spaces where you're not as likely to convert. So let me ask you a question. Would you rather spend 40 cents on one click that converts into a sale, or instead would you prefer to spend 40 cents on 4 clicks, so 4 cheap clicks of 10 cents each, and get 0 sales in the end? So yeah, you've got more clicks, but you didn't convert, whereas on the other hand, you just spent 40 cents on one click, which actually converted to a sale. The thing is, usually people recommend down only. I've done this in the past as well. It's common with Logic campaigns. And the thing with down only bidding strategies is that they will give you a lot of cheap clicks, which sounds appealing, but that will inevitably hurt your conversion rate, which will hurt your sales velocity and also your organic ranking. With fixed bids, we ensure to achieve good placement more consistently. Now, what if the suggested bid for your keyword is very high, say like $1? You still want to start low, because if your design starts converting, if it starts to gain some momentum, then it is still going to win a lot of ad auctions. And that suggested bid, by the way, is just for the very top of search results. Be careful though, if you're using high fixed bids and these broad high search volume keywords, because your daily budget might be burnt through very, very quickly. So if you don't have a lot of money to spend on ads, I would suggest starting a bit more conservatively, maybe using 15 cents to 20 cents for the bid, and then $2 to $5 on the daily budget. Keep it low, because if you have higher bids, like a $10, $20 daily budget, it's going to be used up quite quickly in some cases with these very broad keywords. Now at this point you might be wondering, well, if we're using fixed bids and we're pricing our products really low, how do we maintain a good ACoS? How do we stay profitable? This doesn't make any sense. ACoS means advertising cost of sale, by the way, and that's essentially your royalties divided by the total price of the t-shirt or the product times 100. So in case of a $15.99 t-shirt, for example, we have a $1.93 royalty, and $1.93 divided by $15.99 times 100 is 12. So the ACoS is 12%. And typically with advertising, and if you've been running ads for a while, you know this, we focus on ACoS, because in this case, with a $15.99 shirt, if the ACoS of our ad campaign is above 12%, the ad is technically unprofitable. It seems like it's losing money. The break-even ACoS for this $15.99 shirt would be 12%. So we want to ideally stay below 12%, which if you run ads, you know that staying below 12% ACoS is very difficult. So yes, whilst it might seem true that this is going to be difficult to be profitable with, what we're forgetting in this equation are the organic sales. Because remember, one of the main reasons that we're pushing these ads are to gain better organic ranking and get a lot of additional organic sales as well. So it might look like our ads are not performing well because of a high ACoS, but what we need to do in reality is keep track of our ad spend and the royalties from all of our sales. So just remember that ACoS in the Tamaz method is not as important. So instead of using ACoS, we're going to use a metric called TRAS, or TRAS. This stands for total royalties minus ad spend. And by total royalties, we mean the royalties from ad sales and from organic sales combined. This is one of the easiest metrics to help track your performance more accurately. And I'm going to give you some examples so you understand this better. So let's say the total royalties, or TR, for ASIN number 1 were $500 in the past 7 days. You can see these statistics in Pretty Merch, in your Amazon Analyze tab or with Productive Merch by Amazon as well. So ASIN number 1 had $500 royalties in the past 7 days in total. If we now check the ad campaigns for ASIN number 1 in the past 7 days, we see that those spent $250 on ad clicks. Well, in this case, if we take the total royalties, $500, minus the ad spend, $250, we get $250 as a result. This means you've made $250 total profit thanks to your ads, showing you that the campaign is performing well regardless of its ACoS. In example number 2, we've got ASIN 2, which in the past 7 days generated $100 in total royalties, and the ad spend for this was $150 over the past 7 days. So in this case, we have to take 100 total royalties minus 150 ad spend, which comes to minus 50 as a result for the TRAS. In this case, we made a loss of $50 for ASIN 2, meaning the campaign is performing badly. So essentially, if your TRAS is negative, your ads are doing bad and you need to either turn them off or significantly lower your bids and budget. If your TRAS is positive, however, that means you're going into the right direction. The higher the TRAS, the better, essentially. If you're in the green, you want to slowly increase your bids and budgets and keep monitoring TRAS moving forward. So basically, if your royalties for a certain design within the past 7 days or even 30 days, if the royalties in total are a lot higher than the ad spend, then your ads are performing well regardless of the ACoS. 7 days right here was just an example. You could also look at 1 day, say yesterday or the day before, for a more direct and instant piece of feedback on your ad performance. You could also do the past 2 weeks or the past 30 days, which generally gives you a better idea of the overall picture and the average TRAS performance. And don't panic if you have a day or two where your TRAS is negative. It might just be a bad day or two. It's generally better to adjust your bids based on longer time horizons. So looking at either an entire week or even multiple weeks when comparing your royalties and ad spend. So here's a quick example for one of my current best sellers. This ad campaign spent 33 euros today and it received 100 clicks and 12 orders. So first of all, the conversion rate is looking good. And if I check my Pretty Merch dashboard, I can see that that very same design has sold 33 times today for an 87 euro royalty, meaning I'm definitely in the green, I'm making profit. And this also shows that I'm getting a lot of additional organic sales on top of the sales from ads. Another metric that is very useful to gauge how well your ad is performing is EPC, or earnings per click. Let's talk about how to calculate your EPC. Essentially, what we do here is we take the TRAS. For example, we just had a TRAS of $250 and we divide this by the amount of clicks we received on that exact same ad campaign and for the same time span as well. So essentially, we're taking our total royalties for ads and organic minus the ad spend, and then we're dividing this by the amount of ad clicks. For example, if the TRAS of $250 that I showed in the previous example received 600 clicks in the same time frame, then we have to take 250 and divide it by 600, which gives us an EPC of 0.41. What does this mean? The EPC tells you how much money you're making every time someone clicks on your listing through the ad campaign. What's important here is if the EPC is higher than your CPC, your cost per click, then you are profitable because you're paying, say, 30 cents for someone to click on your listing, but you're earning 41 cents every time someone clicks on your listing. So essentially, in this case, if your ad campaign is showing an average CPC that's below 0.41, then your ads are profitable. One benefit of the EPC is that it helps you understand your upper limit for bids. So in this case, I would not set a bid for, say, 50 cents on this ad campaign because it would clearly ruin the profitability. The bigger the gap between CPC and EPC, the better. But let's say you've got a really big gap there. What are you supposed to do? Let's say your EPC was 0.6 and your CPC, cost per click, was only 0.35. In this case, you've got two options. If you're happy with your daily sales volume and your ad spend, then you can just leave it as it is and enjoy the profit that you're making through the ads. If you still want to scale these ads, you can slowly increase the bids by about 1 cent per day. Be conservative here because you don't want to ruin this good performance by sort of jumping the gun and rushing things with upping bids and upping your daily budgets. Now at this point, if this is your first time hearing about this method, you're probably super confused to think there's way much information to take in. It is true, this is quite confusing at first sight. It took me a few weeks to get a grasp of it as well, but don't worry, just re-watch the video every few days and start your first few tests and you are going to learn this. Don't worry, I don't consider myself very good with ads and I also managed to understand it. It just took a bit of time. I'm still going to show you an example workflow, give you some of my experience and share that very important bonus tip as well. Here's a quick example workflow that kind of puts everything that we've learned together and shows you what you can do to take action with this strategy. So let's say we're doing an initial test for an ASIN for a product with a royalty per sale of $1. The initial testing budget that we use right here is $10. We'll set the daily budget to $5 and then set up the campaign as a manual campaign with a broad match and or a phrase match keyword. We just want one high volume keyword. The initial bid we will set to 25 cents or 30 cents. After spending $10, we will review the conversion rate, the TRAS and the EPC. And if the conversion rate is above 10%, it's a very good sign for a successful design. You can also look for any crazy spenders in the search terms on the Ads Console and turn those off or negate them. You want to increase your daily budget as needed if the performance stays good, the conversion rate, the TRAS and the EPC stays good, or if you just want your data faster, then you can also increase bids by 5% every few days until you're happy with the daily spending. For your ongoing optimizations over the next few weeks, you want to keep monitoring your conversion rate as well as your TRAS and EPC performance. If you're doing all the above, scaling slowly, meaning increasing bids and budgets slowly, and if you can always keep your campaign's conversion rate over 10%, you have a very good chance with the ASIN to become a bestseller, even if the ACoS is high. So let's talk about my experience of testing the Tamaz method over the past month, what I've learned, what I've done differently, and what I would recommend you to try as well. So first of all, I have been testing about 20 to 30 different niches with this method. Most of those tests didn't really go that well. Either I didn't get enough data, or in some cases my conversion rate was really low and I just had to turn off the ad campaigns in the end. Only about 3 to 4 campaigns suddenly started to do really well after a few weeks. So it wasn't instant success straight away, but about 3 weeks in, some of the campaigns started to see some good results, good conversion rates, and helped increase my organic sales as well. I've only had one campaign that managed to see success within the first week. And that's all to say that you need to be patient and you need to run multiple tests probably, because for me, most of my tests also kind of failed. Another tip that I found is to end your old ad campaigns, especially if they're not performing that well, because that will first of all help you to focus on these new manual campaigns, but it will also free up some ad spend that you can then use for testing. So rather than having all of these old automatic or logic campaigns running, you can turn off the majority of them and then focus on this new project. One thing that I've been doing differently is I've been testing multiple ASINs for the same keyword at once, and then after a week or two I would go back and check which ASIN has been performing the best, which one has the highest conversion rate, and then I would just leave that one on and pause all of the other ASINs. Now Tamaz recommends to use broad and exact match on the campaigns, but for me, phrase match has actually been working the best. Not only does it get the most impressions for me, but it also seems to do really well in terms of conversion rates. So definitely test phrase match as well. It's also worth noting that this strategy has been working the best for me in the UK and in Germany. I have not run as many tests in the US yet, but I'm surprised to see my British and German sales suddenly shoot up when I think Tamaz's focus is on the American marketplace. So do not sleep on the other markets. Maybe there is some big potential hidden there for you as well. And remember, this Tamaz method is just a guide. You don't need to follow it 100% one-to-one, step-by-step to see results. You kind of have to understand the philosophy behind it for sure, but everyone's situation is different. Everyone's budget is different. Your designs, the niches that you're in. So don't stay stuck to this and glued to this 100%. Use some common sense and do your own testing as well. And before I move on to the bonus tip, I wanted to make you aware that I created a free 7-page guide for the Tamaz method, which you can download via the link in the description. So the moment you've all been waiting for, what is the bonus tip? Well, there's one fact on the British marketplace that not many people really know about or realize that can really help you out with this Tamaz method. It's helped me out a lot already. And that's the fact that youth-sized clothing doesn't have any tax in the UK. And that means if you sell a shirt to kids in the UK, your royalties are a lot higher. One example right here is a shirt that sold for me the other day at £12.99, so an extremely cheap price, but I received a £2.32 royalty, which is basically $3 in royalties. Another example right here for a shirt that sold at £13.99, so again, very cheap pricing, easy to get a high conversion rate, but because it was for kids, I received a £3.11 royalty, which converts to roughly $4. So definitely do not sleep on the British marketplace, especially designs that can also work for kids, because that is where you can have a high converting ad and still very high royalties as well. And there we go, you made it to the end of the video. Please comment tacos down below to show me that you watched until the end. You can also just use the tacos emoji, by the way. And massive thanks to Tamaz for sharing his strategy, to answering our questions and helping us increase our sales as well. Also, big thanks to Gert Jan, who helped me produce the free PDF download, which you can find in the description. And massive thanks to you for watching this video and supporting my channel. And if you want to learn 35 lessons to further increase your print-on-demand sales in 2024 and moving forward, then make sure to check out this video next.